My dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope that all of you are doing good and welcome to today's Introduction to Literature class. This is lecture number 4. So, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, International University of Scholars, I request you to do subscribe and stay tuned for getting all the update on your particular courses. So now, we have learned so far catharsis and catastrophe. I hope that these two things were really clear for you, even though these two terms are in some case a bit difficult to understand and to analyze, because we are going to explore more about these two terms when you will be studying more courses, especially like Shakespeare, then critical theory, and then you're going to explore like dramas and the poetry in the upcoming semesters. And these two terms will be helping you to learn and explore more of literary genres in the field of literatures. So, today we'll be focusing on the literary terms. It will be, you can write it down, it will be number 18, and we are going to go for drama and tragedy. Okay, it may be invisible in some case. If it's not clear, I have written drama and tragedy, and you can see on the presentation board as well, it's drama and tragedy. It will be number 18 for you. So now, the question that I want to ask you, what is a drama? And what are the differences between drama and tragedy? Are they similar, or tragedy is a branch of drama, or drama is a branch of tragedy? So this sort of question we'll be trying to evaluate, and we'll be trying to answer you these questions. So if we go for this one, in the next slide, you can find it out that what is a drama. So if you want to understand what is drama, let me say you something. You can see that what I'm trying to give you lecture, okay, I'm moving my hands and giving some emotions so that you understand. And these are all parts of in the drama, you'll be finding that the character that perform on the stage, okay, that perform on the stage, or even in the TV screen, you see that the dramatist or the actor or actresses, those who are performing this drama, they're performing an action. So in the drama, you'll find a dialogue, and in the drama, you'll find there are some actions that are being performed on the stage. So this is what drama is. And when the drama is written, okay, written as a manuscript in a dialogue-based formation, it's known as a play. So there is no basic difference between drama or play. One is a written version, play is a written version, and the drama is something that is being performed on the stage, like this in the stage on the podium. Okay, that's the difference between the drama and the play. And then come for right now, a drama must have something. What is that? We have studied climax. So a drama must have a beginning, how the characters are building, okay, how the characters are moving on. The character must have a dialogue and it must perform something. And then in the drama, you must have a middle, meaning that there must be a peak, that's called climax, and there must be an end, meaning that there must be an end or resolution. This is what we have learned. So 3 parts drama, beginning, exposition, then it's the middle part that we call climax, and then you have the fall or the resolution or the conclusion. Those 3 parts makes a drama. Okay, these 3, you can say that the 3 elements that makes a drama or a play. So what are the elements of drama? If the question comes, you must you must be ready answering that question. It says that there must be 3 parts. One is beginning, exposition, and there is a middle, climax, and then the conclusion. So these are the 3 parts I want you to remember. Now, when you are and there is no basic difference between the play or the drama. The play is basically a written form, and the drama is performed on the stage. That's it. Okay, this is the basic difference between drama and play. And now, if you can see that, this is more interesting. I'll be asking you the question: what are the kinds of dramas are there? How many kinds of dramas are there? So be with me. Drama is basically divided into 2 parts: tragedy and comedy. Okay, and the tragedy had been divided into that segments: heroic tragedy, Senecan tragedy, or the revenge tragedy, and then the comedy had been divided into romantic comedy, comedy of humors, tragicomedy, comedy of manners, or dark comedy. These are the parts that you should remember while you are answering the thing. So when you are exploring more about the dramas, because there will be a restoration drama, Elizabethan drama, modern dramas. You're going to have so many drama courses. So you'll be finding that these dramas are the segment of this heroic tragedy or Senecan tragedy. These are the segment of this part. Now the question is that, what's the most difficult question that has been asked in this part is, what is a tragedy? So the question is something like that, what is a tragedy and what a tragedy means? So if I want to explore that tragedy, if I say that, let me give you an example. That, like imagine a son wants to say something to his father, okay, every night when he gets in, when his father gets in at home, and the son always tries to say something, convey something to his father, okay, asking something to his father. And his father says, hey, I know what you want to say to me, so I'm not going to listen. He says, I know, I'll do it for you, I'll do it for you, I'll do it for you. And then the next day, every day, the son wants to tell something to his father, but his father thinks that he may need some money, he may need a mobile phone, he may need something else. So every time he says, I know what you need, I'll be giving you that thing. But few days later, the boy commits suicide, and the father yearns, and the father says, I wished I heard to my son. So that's a tragedy. A tragedy can be anything, everything that comes on your life, anything, it might be a tragedy. It's not necessarily meaning that a tragedy has to be something like that, a tragedy has to be something like that. So tragedy can be anything, but when you are using that term in tragedy, it has a different meaning. This tragedy has a different meaning, and this tragedy has more elements, vast elements that we can even imagine. So we cannot just confine this tragedy into our life, just saying that this is what the tragedy is. He had an accident, he had a tragedy. It's a tragedy, but you cannot define the tragedy according to the definition of the tragedy, the literary tragedy. So there is a difference between the literary tragedy and there's a difference of normal tragedy that we encounter in our daily life. Now, come for this one right now. What Aristotle says. Now, when you are just trying to understand, meaning that when you are trying to understand this tragedy, then you have to understand that you should know it from the perspective of Aristotle, because he is the guy who gave you more intrigued thoughts, who gave you more thought-provoking thoughts, so that you think what should be the tragedy and what are the elements that should fulfill just to write a tragedy. So he says something like that. What he says? He says, Aristotle defines tragedy in book 6 as an imitation of an action. I want you to mark this, and I'm going to write it as well, imitation, because I'm going to explain it more. Imitation of an act. Of an act. Okay, this is a part that I want you to keep it in mind. When you're just listening to that lecture, please just write it down. Just take a note, imitation of an act. So this is what we call like tragedy. Then you have like a complete and of a certain magnitude, meaning that the character who is going to be the hero or the protagonist or the antagonist. I know that all of you know that what is protagonist and what is antagonist. Protagonist meaning the hero of the story, and the antagonist meaning the villain of the story. So the character is a magnitude, meaning that he's not a normal character. Okay, I cannot be a character of a tragedy because I'm not that much supreme. Someone who is going to become a hero of the tragedy, he needs to be supreme. He's above the general people. He's not like an average. Okay, he's like someone vast. Like you see in the movie, like all the hero, they have a supreme power. Okay, they are even like any power they have. Like when they're fighting, you can see that they have a huge muscle and all other things. They have heroic powers that I don't have or you don't have. So it says that Aristotle already says that it's an imitation of an act, or maybe like he's a certain magnitude. In language embellished with each kind of artistic ornament, the several kinds being found in separate parts of the play in the form of action, not of narrative. Ooh. Now it has to come in the form of action, meaning something going on, everything. When you say that fight, as if like you're fighting. When you say that run, you are running. Okay, it's a form of an action. Okay, it's not going to be a just narrative. I say run, but you are standing up. It's a narrative. But when you say run, it's running. When you say fight, it's fighting. So in the drama, you'll be finding that there is an action rather than a narrative. And the novel is a narrative. You find that the novel, the characters, is being narrated. He was a guy, once upon a time, there was a guy whose name was ... So this is a narrative. But in the drama, you'll be finding that the characters, they have actions rather than being narrative. Okay, not of narrative. Through pity and fear, affecting the proper purgation of this emotion. This is what I've said. Pity and fear, this is what is catharsis. Okay, this is what is catharsis is. Pity and fear, meaning that you're all the time saying like the hero is going to die. You find that there are so many movies you'll be finding that the hero is going to die, almost dying, but somehow there is a miracle. Or even you'll find that there's a rebirth in the movie. The hero dies at first, then there is a rebirth. He comes in the movie again, and you'll be finding that there's a rebirth of the characters. This is what happens in the movie. So this is something that happens in the drama, and this is how the drama, a tragedy, is unique other than other dramas. Remember that tragedy is a part of a drama, okay? So the tragedy is different from other segment of like novel, poetry, okay, story, okay? These all are different, okay, clear? So this is what Aristotle wants to say you about what tragedy is. But now, I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you something very significant. What's that actually? What's that? Now he says that imitation of an action. If you think of that, but this is what he uses actually, you know, it says that like, now, if I just ask you the question, what is an imitation actually? He says that imitation of action. Now, let me give you an example. I just want you to show it, okay? If you are very much clear, if you can see that action, please be with me. Give your highest concentration with me. Remember, if I say that the first human being was on the earth was Adam, and the second was his wife Hawa, okay, this is how the lineage came, and then they have the progeny, okay, they have the progeny, then we start to need, we can name is, and then he has, you know, Habil and Qabil. Okay, Habil and Qabil. Okay, the lineage moves on like that. Now the question is that, who was the very first guy? Who was the very first guy? Just to know that how, like, you start when you just have, you know, you're growing up, you know how to eat your food, right? Now the question is, how did you learn how to eat your food? How to take your lunch, how to take your dinner. Your father taught you. Now the question is, how does your father know how to eat their lunch? They know because their father knew that, right? And then if you just go backward, moving backward, we'll be coming into this guy. So isn't it something like that, that the imitation that Aristotle is talking about, is it something like that, meaning that the tragedy itself has been copied from the universe? It's not something that people have invented, it's being invented before? Now let me give you an example. I'm just telling you that a story that has been narrated in the prophetic story. I want you to share this message, trust me, I want you to share this message with everyone, that look, it's not the Western society who has invented tragedy. No, it's not the Greek society who has invented tragedy. This is what it came from Islamic tradition who invented the tragedy, because the first tragedy that happened on this universe or even on the earth, that was the tragedy of Adam's being getting out of the Jannah, and then he came into the universe. That was the first tragedy. So he disobeyed Allah, and then that was the first tragedy actually. He was a supreme. He says, look at the characters. What Aristotle says to you, that he needs to be so much magnitude. Yes, Adam was so much magnitude. He was really supreme. Among all the angels, among all the jinns and the angels, he was the supreme. And he was the best of creation. That is what Allah says to him, that you are the best of creation. Now he disobeyed Allah, And he had been kicked out from where? From Jannah. That is the first tragedy that happened on the earth. Tragedy. And this is how it has been imitated. Don't think that human mind just got out of nowhere, they have invented the tragedy. No. That is the first tragedy that happened on the earth. It has to be, we should acclaim that. We should say that to everyone. You are not, the Western society is not the first one to invent tragedy. The Muslims, it happened, the very beginning of the creation, there was a tragedy. That's the tragedy of Adam, right? Because he disobeyed Allah. He didn't listen to Allah. And that's why he had been kicked out from the Jannah. And then he had been sent on the earth. And then come for that, the big tragedy. What's that? And look, Adam and Hawa, every time they have children. Every time Adam and Hawa, they have children how? They had twin all the time. One boy, one girl. Okay? Again, in the next progeny, they have one boy, one girl. In the first boy, its name is Habil. And the second boy, whose name was Qabil. Okay, Habil and Qabil. So, now it comes off like this is the first marriage that took place. This is the first one that Allah has given the order that, since there is no other girls, there is no other progenies. So what happens right now? The progeny need to come out. Okay, the progeny need to come out. What's that? So the decision was that, if they want to get married, if Habil and Qabil want to get married, they need to do a sacrifice. They need to do a sacrifice. Whatever Allah accepts, whose sacrifice will Allah accept, then he can marry whom he wants. Okay, that was something like that. So they both have sacrificed. Habil has sacrificed a lamb, a sheep, something, an animal, and Qabil was being deluded by the devil, and he had sacrificed few very normal like rice or something like the paddy, something he sacrificed, a wheat. So his sacrifice was not being accepted by Allah, but the sacrifice of Habil was accepted. And that's why it says that he will marry whom among the two girls who is more the prettiest, he's going to marry that girl because Allah has accepted his donation. But Qabil was a bit jealous. He was so jealous because he wanted to marry, because the other lady actually, whom Habil wants to marry. So these two, there was a confusion actually. And these two were in a dilemma. What to do right now? What to do in next? So the Qabil, this guy, out of jealousy, out of jealousy, this brother, Qabil, his own brother of Habil, he killed his own brother Habil. Okay? Qabil kills his own brother. And when he kills his own brother, what happens? The dead body is the dead body is there. What to do with this dead body? What to do with this dead body? This is the first murder that took place on the earth. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that this Qabil needs to take the burden of all the murders that's going to be happening on this earth. So Qabil is going to be, because that is the first murder that happened on the earth. First dead body found, and it was a murder. And that is the first tragedy that happened on the earth. So it's not something like that Aristotle has invented this tragedy. It's not something like that Seneca, he had invented tragedy. It's not something like that Aeschylus, the Greek dramatist, he has invented tragedy. It's not Sophocles who had invented tragedies. It happened before. And that's why Aristotle said it's an imitation of an act. Already imitate. Imitation meaning copying someone, mimicking someone, copying someone. So this is something, don't think that this is only the Western civilization they are advancing. No, they're copying the things from the creation of Allah. So what I want to say you, and the next, what happens next? And again, this is the first murder. Habil is no more. Qabil has killed his own brother out of jealousy. Then what happens? Then Allah had sent two ravens. I repeat, the two ravens, R-A-V-E-N-S. Ravens meaning big crow. Okay? big crow. And look at the learning right now. And I said that, look, you read so many stories, right? I said that we have reading the story of the Aesop, story of the animals, like where you find that the animals are given the human characteristics. Look at this. This is how Allah teaches you as well. He says that the ravens, big crow, they too were fighting with each other, okay? So one crow killed another crow, and then they start to scramble the mud, and then they covered, and then this, let me say you something like that, okay? If I just draw, okay, this is, okay, crow number 1, okay, and then if I just draw something like that, sorry, my drawing is not that much good, crow 2, so crow 1 killed crow 2, okay, so crow 1 wants to hide the dead body of the crow 2. Same thing, Qabil has murdered his brother Habil. How to hide the dead body? Because he is a murderer. How to hide the dead body? So this guy, crow 1, started to scramble the mud, scrambling the mud, okay, and then hide the dead body of this crow number 2. So this is how Allah had taught human beings how to well the grave. Okay, how to prepare a grave. And that's why you have a grave, you are being covered with the mud. This is how Allah had taught you how to, just go arrange the funeral of a dead body. So that was the first lesson, and that was the first murder, that was the first tragedy. That is a real tragedy. It's not a fake tragedy, it's a real tragedy, and this is what happened as a tragedy on the earth. That is the first tragedy that happened on the earth. If you don't know that, you must know it, because it's a true incident. So I want to say that I want you people just to share that message. It's not the Western people, those who are inventing these tragedies. It's Muslim. It came from Islamic tradition, and this is why you have, and Aristotle said it absolutely fine. He said that's an imitation of an act, and that's why we are imitating. And you'll be finding there are murders in the tragedy, okay, and even you'll be finding some worst cases in the tragedy that are happening in the Greek tragedies. These are being copied already being copied, already being imitated from the creation of Allah. So you understand yourself right now how majestic it is, how Allah had taught human beings. Right? That's the knowledge you must have from, and you must explore that as well. If you want to become someone really enthusiastic in your academic sector, you must study and study and study. I want you to understand that this is what tragedy is. Okay, so now Aristotle says you that what are the features of the tragedy that must be. It says that our tragedy is first and foremost the representation of a human action. Clear? I hope that the actions represented have serious, often dire consequences, and the characters represented are of elevated social status. Look at the social status of Habil and Qabil. They are so supreme of the society. The first human being on the earth, and Adam and Hawa, first human being on the earth, the supreme as well. So, and then come forth, the plot is a complete, coherent whole, lasting long enough to represent adequately the reversal of the hero's fortune. And look at the fortune of Qabil as well. Even though they were the son of the prophets, but they commit murder. The language in which a tragedy is composed employs tropes and other heightened or unusual uses of speech and a mixture of different poetic matters. The mode of imitation in a tragedy is drama as opposed to narrative. I already told you that. The tragedy arouses pity and fear in the viewer and bring about catharsis. This is what you should know as well. We have already discussed what catharsis is. So this is the end. This is the end, my dear students. So the question will be so simple. If you want to do something, if you want to know actually how to study, you should always go for the center of the knowledge, but how the knowledge is coming actually, what's the lineage of the knowledge. And if you want to study in that way, that's going to help you. That's going to help you. That's going to help you to understand more and more. So the next assignment that I want you to do is you have to listen to the whole lecture, and in the comment section you have to write down the whole summary of my lecture that I have told. But it's not, you cannot write it in English, you have to write it in Bangla. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what is the assignment. So you have to listen to the lecture, what the assignment is, then you have to write in Bangla, okay, in the comment section. You cannot write in English. That's the assignment. Why am I telling you just to write in Bangla? Because if I say that as in English, you're going to copy to and just do. So Go for it. And I hope that you really enjoyed the session. And I also enjoyed the session when I teach you, because I teach with all my emotions that I have. I want you people to learn and explore, and trust me, this is what you should know, because knowledge doesn't give you money, but the knowledge gives you happiness. And your ability to become the happiest person in the universe is just to deliver knowledge amongst your peers, your friends, and all the family members. That really helps. Thank you so much for being in the class. If there's any query and any question that may arise, just reach me over the WhatsApp or even a phone call. I'm always there just to respond in time. And thank you so much. I hope that you'll be very much careful in understanding what tragedy is. And I want you to share that message that it's not the Western people, it's not the Shakespeare only, it's not the Christopher Marlowe only, that these people have invented these tragedies. The creation had begun with the tragedies, and that tragedy was there in the heaven, and that's why the creation of art is there. Okay, it's due to the tragedy of Adam, due to the tragedy of Hawa, due to the tragedy of Habil and Qabil. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.